I want to talk to Rae.
Okay.
Rae's been waiting a long time. Hi, Rae.
Hi there.
Hi, Rae. I very much want to talk to you.
Hi,
I'm glad.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome back.
I'm so glad to finally have a chance to talk back with you, Matt. We talked just a while ago. We were on with Jenna that time, and I discussed to you about my son having autism and the family trying to get him into the good old Christian business.
Right.
Well, I have an update on that. I took your advice and the advice of my therapist, just setting those boundaries. And since I've done that, my relationship with my mom has gotten much better. We don't talk about God, etc. But seeing my therapist has really kind of helped me parse out some things about my past. However, her neighbor, who has been her neighbor since my childhood, she she would constantly talk to me about, about Christ and all that. She has since I was younger. And things sort of came to a head when she was starting to pressure me, like, to return to the church recently. And it kind of forced my hand to come out to her. And the thing is, the reason why I came out to her was hoping to get her and her husband off my back. Well, this was like a couple months ago, but then she sent me a letter, and it was something in that letter that kind of triggered me because I had a lot of dad issues. And the thing that she said to me is, it was a long letter, but I'm just going to read this little snippet. She says, you said that you just believe in being good, and that's good, but it's not good enough. And then she says, you need to have a connection, a relationship with an all-power and greater one than yourself. Your human limitations do not compare to who he is and all that. So all about the Father, okay? So then she gave me John 3:16. And I actually started crying because I was actually mourning her more than anything. And the reason why is because, I think I shared a little snippet last time about my childhood, but I'll refresh your memory. My mom gave me up at 5, and my dad had visitation, but he just would drift off and just slowly just stop visiting. And so I eventually went into the system, went fully into the system, and then even during that time, I would experience verbal, physical abuse, like including neglect, battery, even some molestation, and bouncing from place to place. I was finally adopted at 10. And I'm here today mostly because of that, because I was suicidal at 9. And I almost gave my life. And in that moment, I kept a promise to one of my teachers. So I ended up the next day going to school, and I actually got my first real hug since I got at 9 years old, I got my first real hug. And she promised me that if I keep showing up, she'll keep showing up. And so that's kind of where I X'd out this whole thing about the church. But I was constantly going to church just for the community. Community. I just wanted to go, just to be around people. And I went for acceptance into the group most of all, because I really wasn't interested in Jesus or God. I was just kind of going along to get along. And her stuff set me off so much because, she knows your history. I feel like, she knew a little, she didn't know about that. And so I actually cried a couple of tears for her because I experienced abandonment, and I also experienced being there for other people, and including showing up for this teacher. She made me promise to be there the next day, and I kept my promise. All along, I was looking for my dad to come back. I was looking for God to talk to me, that Father. I would actually reach out, and I never heard anything back. And I really didn't believe that it would be anything back. Because there was no hand reaching out from me when I had that razor blade or that bottle of pills.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no, Rae. Oh. Is she back?
Thank you for calling the Atheist Experience.
No. Oh no. I didn't touch it.
No, nobody touched it. We briefly lost our connection to Colin Studio, but we need to wrap up now. So
no.
Apologies, Rae. That may have been, who knows what the hell that was. Rae, call us back on another week.
Oh, are you back? Rae?
Can I say this last thing, please?
Yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, we didn't cut you off, for the record. Yeah. Colin Studio disconnected my heart. Yeah, sorry, last thing. We do have to wrap up.
But I do want to say this, and I kind of see this like this, and I may sound crazy, but the first Christian was Jesus, and he never got, he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. He went out into the desert, like drugged himself and all kinds of that, and he was hallucinating. Well, when he was praying, he bled blood, and nothing called back out to him. If you read in the passage, he was just talking to himself. And then when he's up on the cross, he's like, why have you forsaken me? He still didn't hear anything. So my thing is, look, if he faced all this abandonment and still didn't hear any answers, if that's not giving anybody a clue as to the fact that God ain't saying nothing to any of us,
yep.
I don't understand if there's any other indication of that. I know that's what I feel. So anyway, that's all.
I tell you what, Rae, call me back another week. I want to talk to you because it's really interesting so what happened with you is similar to what happened to me in that my mom wrote me letters and emails, but it's always strange. And I'll point this out because I know Shannon's going to want to go off on this and explain it in much more detail. I told my mom to never send me another thing in the mail. Everything that comes in the mail from her will go directly into the trash because of my 50th birthday card, but also because that is one-way communication. That is, let me talk at you without any sort of, and it's like, oh, well, you could write a letter back. Yes, we could pretend like we still live in 1352 and we could try and communicate like that, or we could talk to each other as human beings. You're my mother, I'm your son. Let's have a fucking conversation. Yeah. But the letters annoy me.
That's to a certain degree valid. I think it depends on how it's used. Like, I'm not like poo-pooing letters as correspondence generally,
sometimes
but
they're great.
Yeah, but it also is a way to ensure that you have a captive audience that can't question anything that you're saying directly to you or derail you from your intended message.
It's good in that you get all your points across without being interrupted, for example, by me, who is famous for interrupting people, even though I think most of the time I have a really good reason.
No. Sorry.
But if it's being used to preach at and have a captive audience, I find that rather awful.
Yeah. And Rae, I'm so sorry you got disconnected, and I'm sorry that we have to let you go now. And I thank you. I'm glad that we got to your call. I wanted to make sure that we heard the follow-up because I was following your story. So thank you so much for calling back and giving us the update. We always appreciate that. And thank you for sharing. You may not realize it, but there's other people who hear you right now and may have similar experiences or draw parallels to components of your story who you are helping by sharing that story. And I'm glad that
God ain't gonna show up for us. We got to show up for each other.
Absolutely.
Right. That is the best way to end this. That's the best end of this show that I think we've had of late. So
I agree. Thank you so much, Rae.
Have a good weekend.
And let's all do what we can to show up for each other. That's what humanism is about. If you set aside all the bickering about what goes in Humanist Manifesto 1 or 2 or 3 or anything else, at the end of the day, what secular humanism is advocating, unlike what the caller at the beginning of the show put forward, is not a moral system where we have the answers to everything. Secular humanism is putting forward the notion that as far as we can tell, we're in this together, and we're in this without the ability to make appeals to gods or supernatural beings. They're not going to intervene on our behalf. There's no evidence that they exist at all. If they want to intervene on our behalf, cool, show up, do something. But in the meantime, I need to give you a hand. You need to give me a hand Shannon and I need to work together to make sure that whoever we're talking to understands what we're doing. And we as an entire community need to make sure we're following health and safety guidelines, because despite the fact that we're doing really good on getting vaccines out, there was actually a spike in the number of infections because we have idiotic governors like the ones in Texas and Mississippi and Florida. And we have people like that are mask holes that I run into on my rare occasions when I have to venture out of my house, who are just proud as fuck that they freedom, man, freedom. It's all about freedom. You're not going to make me wear a mask. Well, of course not. And I apologize for the accent shaming that I just did. It's a habit that probably is never going to go away for the rest of my life. But you know what? That's half my family. I can make fun of them that way. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Tune back in next week. There'll be other people here ready to take your calls and engage with you. Please be safe. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.